I agree with Alan on that, except the carriers control what goes on the devices. And their issue today is the care costs. And so even though we're preaching to the choir, we're all mobile people in here, we know who developed the app and they'll call it or get on the web to the right place. Most people don't know that. My father would not know not to call Verizon for his app problem. So the carriers will continue to try to control what goes on, and they're pushing for something that's more generic that doesn't push them to have to take care of all those care calls, because even if they push them off to a developer or a device manufacturer, they got to answer the phone. That's $8. They don't like that.
And one more note to throw out there is we have to also have to be careful, at least at the state of art today, around HTML5, is we're potentially trading one set of problems for another. So today, maybe not on the same order of magnitude, but today, do I have to develop for multiple platforms? Yes, if you want to be native. So now you go to the HTML5 route. Well, how many different platforms, screen sizes, keyboard resolutions, functional keypads, types of accelerometers, types of devices that are, sensors that are in the devices? How do I deal with that across all the platforms that I might want to deploy on? So you're changing your problem set from how many times do I have to rewrite it to how many things do I have to deal with and how many case statements do I have in my code to deal with the different platforms. So do I hope HTML5 will provide some of its promise? Yes. But I was hopeful about Java as well. So.
Do you see potential threat to the mobile community with AT&T's mobile enterprise application?
At least what I see when I look at that, I don't think so. They're providing a way to have your standard set of tools that are, what they define as the enterprise is how do I get my Salesforce automation, my CRM, that's what they mean by enterprise. So if you're looking to have access to those types of systems or access to your equivalent of that, then yes, but the enterprise is much more than that. There are much greater things that they're trying to solve than how do I get access to my CRM or my Salesforce automation. So I think it's a step in the right direction. It's not that much different than a platform as a service offered by your carrier, but I don't see it as a threat in terms of enterprise applications, because I think the most interesting thing about when we go around and we talk to people are the creative uses for applications that they're starting to do in the enterprise. Just as we sat around and we saw the consumer side come up with some amazing apps, things that we never thought of. Somebody thought of it one day, they took the time, they programmed it, and I was like, wow, I wish I would have thought of that. It's happening in the enterprise as well. So, we've been talking with a construction company, and they've developed an iPad app. The foreman goes around and they look at that wall and they bring it up on their schematic and they say that wall's 25% complete on studs and so far complete on drywall, and they've got animation that builds the wall out. So the foreman feels like they're playing a game and they're excited when they get to complete the next wall. It's an amazing application that could look like a game, but it's for a foreman to do project management software so that they can get real-time updates of where they are in the project. It's amazing innovation that accelerates the reporting and visibility of the company to do their job, but the foreman gets enjoyment out of it.
So let me use that as a segue to a question that people want to be sure we get to. For the developers here in the audience, what should they do? Is there an opportunity in the enterprise for an independent developer? And if so, how should they take advantage of that? Is there an ecosystem they could join, or are there technologies they should know? What do you think?
I think we're sitting at the beginning stage where we were with the internet, and just at the internet you saw, although hopefully we'll have better outcomes here, the Cyient, Viant, Razorfish, and such in terms of web development. What we see in the marketplace is there is a complete lack of understanding of how to develop for mobility. Right? It is different. We see a lot of folks that are desktop developers that are moving into mobility, and they forget, particularly when you move outside the US, that most of the world's meter data. So you probably actually ought to pay attention to how much data you use and whether the device is roaming or not before you download that next 10 gigabyte file. You might have a very unwelcome surprise when folks get back. So there's lots of things in terms of you have a resource-constrained device in terms of battery, in terms of processor, in terms of bandwidth. That's not what most developers are used to, right? They're used to having very abundant resources. So what we're seeing, and then you throw in the whole cross-platform and the other things we've talked about, incredibly complex. Lots of these problems have not been figured out at all. So what I would say from the developer standpoint, if you're good and you know what you're doing, the world is your oyster right now. You can go, you don't need to be, you can go build your own company easily.
What if you're just a developer though, and you don't want to be a business guy?
Tons of
Find a
opportunities.
partner.
Lots of opportunities.
I would only echo what Alan says. There's an opportunity. Traditionally, there's been a wall to approach an enterprise and on how to sell them, how to market to them, how to distribute to them. Those walls, just as on the consumer side, that's come down. On the enterprise, it's coming down as well. And I think the two leads there, I may surprise a few people that know me well here, but I think Apple and Microsoft have a great opportunity there. And the reasons are obvious. One was said earlier, and that Apple's got a great ecosystem. They're making changes to accommodate the enterprise on their B2B pricing and their volume purchasing. But Microsoft owns the back office and the enterprise. I think nobody can deny that, and to sit here and think that Windows Mobile and the enterprise won't have an opportunity, I think is a bit short-sighted. So I think if you take a step back and you look at what traditionally has been done in the enterprise for applications, and traditionally by an enterprise app we mean something that was good enough and not designed very well and very hard to use and non-intuitive, required people to go to training classes at days on end to learn how to enter their timesheet. Take the creativeness that we've done on the consumer side in building creative, intuitive, fantastic apps, apply it to a business model, and there's opportunities there.
Well, I'm going to say this. The line between enterprise apps and consumer apps isn't that clear. For example, I can give you the same app and you could actually, turn it around and make it for a different purpose. I'll give you one example. I have an Android investment which actually in this building called CarStar. And what they do is very simple. They have a mobile app that aggregates your keychain loyalty cards, barcode. So you can take a picture of all your barcodes on your keychain, and now you don't have to carry any of them. You just take out your mobile phone, you walk into CVS, you pull up your CVS card, and then they scan your card, and here you go. But now, even though they're a consumer app, their opportunities are mostly in the enterprise world. Best Buy wanting to combine the data and the use cases for issuing loyalty cards for Best Buy cards. Different types of Sears point of sale integration with loyalty, issuing loyalty points program. So a lot of the consumer apps are actually enterprise opportunities, or some of the enterprise opportunities can start with a consumer app.
But there it sounds like they're actively pursuing a relationship with the business and willing to evolve their technology. If you look at, we talked earlier about Evernote, right? Evernote's a great example. In order for that to be used in an enterprise, the server's got to be controlled by the enterprise. And is that ever going to happen?
Yeah, but you just make different instances, right? I mean, what I'm saying is there's no technology barrier most of the time. It's just how some people go after the lower hanging fruits because it's a quicker adoption. But most of the opportunities, in terms of the actual use cases between enterprise and consumer, I don't think there's that much difference.
Yormo, do you have a question?
Yeah. From a technology point of view, I agree with you, but are you noticing any shift in enterprise willingness to deal with small companies? As a huge multinational of two people, we've had a tremendous difficulty breaking into the Fortune 500 set. The 18-month sales cycle is a bit difficult when you're a two-man team. Do you find enterprises starting to warm up to a faster, more flexible approach, or is it still the old school, wine them, dine them, do the rounds of proposals, and dedicate a person for 18 months to get the contract?
Well, I haven't wined and dined anybody in a long time. People are so short of time, you're lucky to get an hour with them. But they are still very reticent to do business with a smaller company. The question that got posed a couple of minutes ago, how do you get into the enterprise? You got 4 companies up here that focus on the enterprise. There are not a lot of mobile developers around, and more importantly, there's mobile developers that are really PC developers that just took mobile jobs and aren't thinking like mobile developers, okay? What they're doing is they're taking this whole PC-centric mentality and thinking that's going to work in the mobile environment. So I think there's an enormous opportunity for everybody in the room to work with companies like ours and other companies that are going into the mobile space or in the mobile space already, because there aren't a lot of people who are thinking creatively out of the box, as Alan said earlier tonight, and redefining or transforming the experience that the end user can have. And what they're doing is taking all these PC-centric people and just trying to recreate what they did on the PC, and that's not working. So I would encourage all to, look at who's in these mobile ecosystems and contact them, because I think Alan and I have spoken about this a couple of times. We can't find people to hire, especially with mobile experience. So it's a great opportunity. And one promo for Pete, since he's not here, he and I spoke the other night. He's thinking about creating an educational system for mobile. Because there's really no way to learn mobile other than to come to things like here, but he's thinking about creating a formal education system where they would come in and get certified in the mobile development environment, and I offer to help some support on that.
So you'd be a card-carrying member of the MoDev.
What kind of card?
No card, no.
It'll be a mobile.
Virtual card. I'm trying to remember they used to have the guild, right? And the guild controlled all. Steve's been waiting for a long time with the
Yeah, I got
question.
two questions. These are different. Which one of you have a third-party development kit? You have the expertise in the enterprise area to give us the backbone we need, but as someone as a user interface expert in the mobile app, if you could provide some of the tools, we could partner up with you and create applications either sold by you or licensing your expertise to work with your servers. Is that a possibility? Or is that, any of you been looking in that area?
If I understand your question right, that's what we do. We're looking to provide the infrastructure to the enterprise as you do the
No,
mobile.
but you provide the infrastructure to the enterprise. As an independent developer, for example, we have an application that would work very well in the enterprise market, but we don't have the expertise to go on the server end. If we could provide, you could provide a third-party tool, like in the old days of the online services, AOL, CompuServe provided third-party development toolkits. They were less successful, but there was an attempt. Have you thought about doing it that way?
So I understand your question better. So we have thought about that. We see opportunity. The name is escaping me. We see it on the consumer side, trying to offer a set of toolkits to have Skype and Twitter integration and things like that. And what are the analogies on the enterprise side? To be quite honest, we're pretty focused on what we're focused on. We're early out of the gate. But that's something that we have played around with, is what are those suite of services, be it authentication, roles, privileges, management of access controls, things like that are definitely things that we've thought about to provide back into the application developer to make it easier to integrate into an enterprise environment. So.